can we do to help bring people back into it and keep on using it that is also going to meet the needs of what the goal is, right? To track veterans and like try and maintain how they're doing to make sure that they're gonna be okay. And to do the check-ins and to get that information so that we can potentially save lives, correct? So, two things via a lot of indirect and direct research. By that I mean like just reading material, just research across forums, and then also directly talking with veterans that I've met along the way. Some people here, some people outside of here, has kind of led me to focus on a couple different things. First thing is that there's kind of this sense of I don't know what to do when I get back, and I don't know how to behave and how to work and how to be a civilian, so to speak. I hear that a lot from veterans, and that is civilian life is not something that they're used to, or they don't like it, or it sucks. So how to help them see it, how it works, and how to understand how that flows, and how to reintegrate yourself, that's something that they struggle with. The VA and plenty of other resources are out there to try to help them get into there. And there's actually quite a few apps out there that have come up recently, like in the past 3 months, that have tried to create these communities for people to go into it. But I think personally that they're failing because they're not tackling the social piece correctly. And I'll explain that one in a moment. But just based on the idea of how do we like have them get educated, but also make it something that's not like read this and read that. Did a lot of research on kind of gamification and how to make you want to kind of like improve. So that kind of goes to these missions that I've been trying to kind of come up with. And we went through this a lot. We started off with, I think, just tasks. You create your tasks and you just follow through with it. That was kind of too much, I think, like load as far as trying to come up with these things. So next step was, well, what if we can create the missions themselves? What if we can, because we know kind of a lot of the struggles, what if we can create something that they can kind of cater to themselves with a bunch of options? And that's kind of where I've landed. And so this is where you start off once you're in the app. If you're brand new to this, you come to pretty much just a blank screen saying, create your first mission, let's get this started. Hopefully you would have a peer mentor to help you get started with your set of goals. So this is an example mission. All this is just example work that I've just been kind of putting together. This is the one mission that this example veteran has, which is called Priority 1. And this one is about setting priorities, which is something that can be pretty difficult coming back from a structure where those priorities are set for you. So this is kind of about going through that. And so for these missions, you've got your objectives, and you just try to complete one of them a day. And once you complete it, you're good. And you can. And I took away actually the before I was trying to put this kind of like limitation to it, where you had to get done in 2 weeks. I've since felt that that is not going to be very helpful to them. So this is kind of something where they can go at their own pace. We talked about rest periods. I think if we can just have them go at their own pace, that removes the need for that too. This is something where they can hopefully get into it. And part of why I think this will work better is because each one of these things that you'll do, there's little things you gain. There's experience you gain, which means that through that experience you kind of gain this sense of rank and the quick reaction force. I've been kind of playing with these words that we used a lot. So this is essentially the quick reaction force. All the veterans who are part of this app are in the quick reaction force. So you can gain stature and you can gain a sense of like, I have accomplished a lot by having these experience points that you're gaining, and also these badges, which creating the UI plus icons was not possible for me to do in the time frame. So a lot of these icons are not mine, but I've used for the example of this. Each one of these areas represents a badge or an icon. And once you complete a full area, you will get that badge. And you can get badges for each one. In this particular mission, there's 27 badges that you can earn. And there are different kind of ranks. And there's the easy ones you can get, which will lead up to the very first badge here. And then, so there's like 5, these are the badges you want to be displaying. And then you've got your final one, which would be representative of whatever this might be that represents priority 1 as a badge. So I'm getting a little bit into detail here, so don't worry too much about that. I'm just trying to kind of explain a little bit of some technical part to it, maybe the mechanics of what I'm trying to create here. I'm going to kind of go through the rest of this a little bit quickly, so that way we can come back to it and we can go into details a little more after that. So that's missions. There's a lot more to them that each, like, you got like 3 objectives per mission. Each objective can have different focus areas to put it into. So there's a reason to come back to a mission. You don't just finish the mission and you're done. You come back to it and there's different areas to focus on. The very first objective is finding what's important. So looking at the big picture, breaking that down, discovering how others do it, those are just 3 different focus areas for trying to figure out, you know, what's important for me to prioritize. So this is one way to do it. I'm not necessarily saying that this is the way you guys should do it, but this is kind of my best attempt to give you guys something that can hopefully springboard to something that's going to be self-generating.
And so those focus areas are already figured out for the veteran, or we might do that in our own groups to figure out what we need to
Yeah.
list.
I
I understand.
didn't do
But I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure that those weren't things that the veteran is required. Okay, focus area 1, I have to come up with something. What is it going to be? They're
Right.
already be there to be.
Exactly.
Okay,
yep.
good.
And
It's
some
essentially-
veterans don't even know what
Yeah.
they, you know, what their focus should be, and that's the
Right.
problem. That's when they get lost. It's like
Right.
that's hard to see that once in a while. So
Yep.
to kind of get some information about that, and kind of it's almost like pointing them in the right direction, and that's always nice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that'd be very helpful.
And I certainly was not able to focus it too much on content strategy.
Right.
But just, you know, very on the surface here, you know, making something simple like, this is your task for the day, you need to do this, just, you know, do this for at least 2 times in the whole span of this mission until you're done, is to just answer these questions. How did I get to where I am right now? Where am I right now in my life? And then where do I want to be? That's all you have to do. That's your mission. Write that down. Hopefully you still have a peer mentor to go with you. Again, this is an app. We can't force anything, but if they choose to get into this, and I hope that other things in this app will help make them want to, that they'll kind of start getting into that. So each one of these can get more and more difficult, but starting off kind of simple and just getting them to think. Getting just to get the wheels turning just a little bit. One of them is simply just talk to someone and ask how they decided what was important to them. You have to do that 4 times, or essentially 4 days. You can do 1 thing a day for each focus area. So I can explain this more in depth afterwards as far as how it looks like there's a lot going on, but really there's only 3 things they're focusing on here.
What I like about it is it seems like a crawl, walk, run phase.
Yeah.
You know, almost where it finds what you need,
Exactly.
get you used to it, and then
Yep.
before you know, you look back and you've been running for a while, so that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, actually this particular set of missions was actually a veteran helped me put these together.
Okay.
So, which that was a very, very awesome experience. 'Cause
I
he's,
like the last one.
Prioritize someone else.
yeah,
That's huge.
Mhm.
yeah. Basically, there's the 3 objectives: find what's important, plan ahead, and adjust. And in this section here, it's
Service.
yeah,
Mhm.
So-
It helps them learn from other people what maybe is important to them as well. You know,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
you know, something that they want to make other people happy, and they find
Mhm.
kind of what's important to, you know.
I
Yeah,
think
I just think it opens your eyes a little bit. I think that would be good too.
if we can just say, give them a task and say, hey, please just do this task, and all that task says, go make a connection with somebody, I think that can really help.
Mhm.
I think what a lot of veterans, at least what I've found, have a really difficult time with is making and maintaining their connections with people.
But I think that because they're isolating, I think it's hard to get someone to do that, and I think if you
Yes.
frame it in a way that aligns with their values of service
Yeah,
and group loyalty, then it's a secondary
yep,
bonus, right?
mm-hmm,
So that is, I really like that last one, that's really well done.
yeah, I'm really excited about how this could play out for you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately it's up to you guys, but, this is just one example. I think there's a lot where it can go. So that's if you have 1 mission.
Mhm.
with your peer mentor, you can set maybe a couple different missions. I wouldn't say too many, just enough to like, you have kind of the problems you're trying to solve, or maybe things you're trying to figure out, whether that's setting priorities so I know what the hell I'm supposed to do, or that's like trying to figure out what it means to be a civilian again, or even just how to get my career on its path. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to cover, but that can be kind of set up right here, and they can select more missions and they can edit their path. Editing is really simple. You would just go in there and you can just drag your mission around, so that way whatever you want to come next will come next. You don't want to do this mission, you just remove it. And you can go back in here and you can, essentially you do one at a time. I felt like too many missions would be just kind of ridiculous. So if you notice when you start the app, it just goes to what you're currently working on. That's where you're at. So if you get these all done in the day, you know, this is all checked off, you're all good. And then the next day, these will be all open again and waiting for you. I think reminders, which is something I've seen in a lot of these apps that are trying to help build habits, would be helpful, but I mean, that's kind of something that would be fairly easy to implement and not something I felt needed
to put in here, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
have you seen the task app? It's called Carrot.
Carrot, no, I've not seen Carrot.
Let me tell you, it's hilarious. It makes me get shit done that I would never do, because I get these notifications that say, "Hey, loser." You know, like, I mean, they're so derogatory and so cynical and so self-deprecating that it's kind of hilarious.
That's
And then
awesome.
as just quickly, so one of the things, if you get like 3 or 4 tasks done, you get to feed Carrot's cat, and if you don't get it done, you get messages saying like, you know, the cat's dying, it's your fault, you know, because you're not getting done
Yeah.
to feed the cat. I mean, it's, and then if you do get certain tasks done, you can go and pet the cat, and so it shows you like petting the cat and it's
Yeah.
purring, and it's just really ridiculous how that can like do something
Yeah.
to your serotonin levels.
There's another app that's very similar to that.
Yeah,
I thought
where
it
you
was
take
pretty
care of a
neat.
cat or a dog or whatever. It's an old
Yeah.
one. What is that? It's an old, real old, like from the
Yeah.
old phones or something.
Right.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
They take care of it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, if you need to get tasks done, you might want to take a look at it. It's
Yeah.
very simple and super fun. Sometimes I just do the tasks because I want to see the notification I'm gonna get, because it like makes me laugh during the day.
What's it called?
Carrot,
How do you
Carrot.
Okay.
Is that serotonin? Is that a lot of? Is that
I
kind of
don't
like?
know internet, but I'll
Yeah,
look it up.
right.
There's another one,
Makes you feel good.
Is it like
Yeah.
just the human caring kind of thing releases that sometimes? Is that-
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot
But
of
it's-
stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and we had talked about sort of derogatory humor as potentially part of the app, because of the veteran culture piece.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think one of the things too that comes up for me there is sort of thinking about potentially creating different level, like based on the person's comfort level, allowing them to do some sort of setting of how derogatory do you want the app to be.
That'd be kind of
Right,
fun,
and
yeah.
so
Yeah,
maybe
for women in bed.
maybe not for the content, but for like the you know, some of the more the things that are more sort of static with the skin,
Yeah.
right? So like, you know, or maybe for the
I was thinking like
for the
micro
reminder,
interactions
yeah,
would be great
some of
for
the,
that.
yeah, right,
So,
yeah. So the content could be always the same, but you're
Yeah.
doing some other stuff. So
Have
yeah.
some more.
collaborative design with mint thins.
Okay.
Wherever
So
they
my
are.
friend bought 15 boxes of these. I'm not
I'll
sending
have a
them home,
freezer
everybody
full
eat it. There's another roll.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
moving on to just the profile itself. So a lot of this stuff you can explore in here. You can go and you can explore missions. How you find missions, I think, is kind of hard for me to decide right now, because that's mostly content right now. I did kind of put together a little mission selector where you can kind of choose an area, and you can match another area. So like emotional communication or environmental, like direction, self-direction, self-control, and you could then, what is this? And then you can, you can then find those missions through there. And I would show you what that looks like, but currently those missions are all broken because I redesigned it and I forgot about this part, so. But that's how that one pretty much works. So as you're doing this, stuff gets updated in your profile, which once this loads, we can go over there. So,
Badass
this is
Jack.
badass Jack. And you can gain ranks as you gain experience, your QRF points, and whatever badges you earn, you can showcase. You can also, and this I know we kind of said other things, but after doing more research, I'll just say it, I firmly don't think we should have avatars of themselves, pictures of them.
Mhm.
I think that destroys the anonymity piece,
Mhm.
which I think is where I found more veterans in communities is where they were anonymous. So while I do think it would be a good thing for them to be public, I don't think that this app is where they need to do that.
Mhm.
This is where they can be private in themselves.
Is that a middle finger up there?
Yeah.
That's
yeah, it
awesome.
is. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
So this is kind of what the public profile could be too. Let's say another veteran saw your profile.
Mhm.
It would just be a name. Even the names I felt could be completely, you'd actually be given a random name based on name sets that we were to create.
Sure.
And you can go in and change it if you wanted to,
Mhm.
but a lot of the apps that I've been looking at, they actually were just creating the names for them.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of cool, because then
Yeah.
you get to live up to your name in a way,
right, yeah, the community that I
Which you
joined, I
have.
was named Night Rage, and I was like, all right, okay, I'm Night Rage, so. So that, I thought that was kind of interesting, and
Yeah.
I think it actually speeds up some of the process of like, oh, I gotta set this up. It's like, no, you don't have to do anything.
This is done.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is who you are. You can change if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I even thought maybe just randomize it till you get one you like.
Hmm.
So,
It almost like integrates, like QRF to have, overseas and stuff too, and if you
Yeah.
feel like you're doing your, almost like taking, be overseas or on tours and bringing it back home, and you're kind of like meshing it together and kind of
yeah.
feeling comfortable again and integrating that into a civilian life. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I think it really goes together well.
I mean, that's one of the things that comes up for me too, is we've been talking a lot with this architect that's dealing with healing spaces,
Mhm.
and so he said, if you just show a veteran a map of where they, whatever country they were in, like it all comes flooding back. And so, if we were to ask them some really basic questions, like did you serve in Iraq or Afghanistan, and then take place names, right,
Mhm.
based on that,
Yep.
then I mean, we might trigger the hell out of them.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm trying to get something that's also going to pull them in, right?
Mhm.
And so, if the
Yeah.
if the names were sort of specific, had a resonance with their actual
Mhm.
military experience, that might be a way to go. So
Hmm.
something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because it could trigger, but at the same time, my experience with veterans is that, anytime Mosul is on the radio or in the paper, there's such pride in, hey, look, did you see this, or did you hear that, or
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
though it was just a horrible experience,
Yeah.
But they were there. Wow.
that they were there, and
Mhm.
so there's pride in that.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's kind of interesting, yeah.
Hmm.
So
And
like
then-
if just to follow it a little bit further,
Yeah.
if we took their branch of service and thought
Yeah.
about like a whole bunch of words that go with that branch of service,
Yeah.
and then also the things that were for that place that they served, that, to end up with a name that, it's not personal, but it's
Yeah.
still resonant at a little bit deeper level.
I
Mhm.
think that would play really well into social piece, which I'll get to in just a moment.
Yep.
Because then would there be people with the same names? No, or yes? I mean, there could be. I
Could
mean, in a
be.
way, that's gonna group you again. If you were a certain MOS in a certain place, certain time,
Yep.
all you guys are together, and boy, then you automatically have your group right
Yep.
there. You don't even have to do any work.
I think that the more intelligent we can be about that, the nicer the app will be for a veteran.
Yeah.
If we can get right off the bat, hey, this is private information, you're also gonna see it, what branch are you from, what's going on here, are you disabled, are you not disabled?
Mhm.
What, just,
Mhm.
do you like derogatory stuff, or do you
Mhm.
prefer people to speak nicely to you? We can match those things up, and we can cater the app to them in a way that makes sense for them.
So we're gonna have disabled, MOS.
Yeah.
Place-based derogatory humor. That should
There
be
you go.
interesting.
Laughter's
It'll
good
be a great
medicine,
catalog.
though.
It is.
Yeah.
Laughter is great
Depends on
medicine.
what part of the country you're from, too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is pretty simple. missions, it just says how many you've completed, how many rounds you've done, which is just how many, like you could have completed the same mission over and over again. So that's kind of just saying like you can do it, you can have a lot more missions completed, but you haven't necessarily gone through them all yet. And then your streak, which is saying how many times have I been completing an objective consecutively each day. So that's kind of a goal, like if you can complete, if you can keep this up every single day, that'll be recognized in your profile, and there are things to earn from that too. Badges, the way badges work is when you can see them when you're looking at the mission itself, on the profile, all the badges you can possibly get are condensed down onto here. And that is because if this is a public profile, mind you, I wanted to be so that way it can be just as impressive when you see a whole bunch of these green squares saying, wow, this person's done a lot, but they wouldn't know what they've been focusing on.
Mm.
So they couldn't be anything like, they couldn't like look and say, oh.
Try not to swear so much.
Right. You clearly are looking at the social control piece of things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And just to avoid that kind of piece, it's like, this just shows that they've accomplished a lot.
Mhm.
And if they want to show off something, they have the opportunity to do that here. And that's up to them.
Sure.
So that's kind of what this is. And I was still toying with the design here. I was kind of actually looking at military uniforms and kind of
Yeah,
a lot of
that's
the.
right, yep.
Right, and this
That's
was
cool.
kind of, it's still in the works, but this was kind of where I was trying to get something more like that, a little bit more of that kind of abstract look that the uniforms have.
Sure.
Particularly the dress uniforms
Yeah,
I'm referring
that's
to.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then support would be kind of like what you've given, what you've received, and then kind of that ratio. This one is not as important, and I don't really think it's necessary, but it just was another statistic to put in there. And there's other things that can go in here too, if you wanted,
I'm
but
gonna go back to that again,
Yeah.
that's the support piece, I think that's huge, and just from a data collection
Mhm.
standpoint.
yeah.
I think it would be really interesting to see who's giving, who's receiving, at what percentage, and,
Mhm.
and then how does that
Yeah.
correlate with the outcomes?
Yeah.
Because we do have there's certain assumptions we're making about peer mentoring, but also certain assumptions we make on self-healing.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know, that'd be good.
Because
Mhm.
everybody's different, so some people, their healing is dependent, it might be, 80% giving, and some people
Mhm.
might just want to receive, and that, I think that data-wise, it can tell you a lot about, and then you interpret all the other data with it, kind of tells you exactly where that person kind of,
Yeah.
feels comfortable, and
Yeah.
that can tell you a lot about where they should be,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
I think the data is going to be really fascinating and really helpful. My only concern is it appropriate for a public profile?
Oh, for public profile.
Yeah, and this is technically the personal profile where they could probably change these things if they wanted to. I put this in here as an example, just to kind of show you guys what this could be. I have not put this in technically what you'd see for public profile. Right now, public profile only shows the top part. The rest of this is not in there yet, mostly because this is easily switchable. You take it in, you take it out. This is just a
Support,
prototype,
yeah,
but
I could see why the support might not wanna be
yeah,
public, because
Yeah.
it shows that you need help or
You
you're,
can tell a lot of the
Exactly.
veteran about him or herself,
Yep.
personally, so.
yeah, and I think that for a peer mentor, if they're able to access their profile in a more in-depth way because they're the mentor and that's an agreement that they have, that's something that maybe can help them make better decisions for them or help them kind of figure out what they need or how they're doing. So yeah, it's basically, this is just an area for going to your profile and going to my posts, which I think, how you guys would want to handle that, that's where I'm going to transfer over to next is, I'll actually just go over to that and trying to explain that backwards. So communication. So the way that, what definitely got me, and this was a particular app, I'm curious if you guys have heard of it, it's called Whisper. I've heard of Whisper. It's an interesting app because it's all about being anonymous.
Mhm.
People can write a message, they can express something, and they just share it to the world. And people can go on there and they can do that. And you can actually join communities in there too. And there's a veteran community in there, and they basically go in there and they vent and they talk about stuff, or they talk about
And is
comrades.
that public? Can other people
Yes.
see that?
They can't see
And then
that.
how do they use their DD, what is it?
The
14?
DD 214.
No, there's
Okay.
absolutely no verification at all. There's no
Oh, so
control over it.
could be non-veterans that are going into the veteran.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking trolls and
Yeah.
stuff
Oh,
coming
yeah.
in and
And the
putting
veterans
stuff in,
definitely
it's
do,
gonna get out of hand, I don't
do
know.
hammer on them in that group. So that the group's subtitle is absolutely no one else besides military folk.
Mhm.
So, I mean, when I joined it, I said, first thing, I'm like, I'm not a military folk, but I'm working with veterans to help them reintegrate back
Mhm.
home. And the first question I asked was, what do you guys like about this app? What do you hate about it?
Mhm.
So I got actually a lot of feedback from that one,
Yeah.
comparatively. So
That's really cool.
I can go into that in a moment.
Yeah,
But,
that'd be great.
but the thing that was so interesting about that is that there was a lot of posts. And actually, all the posts that you're gonna see here are directly pulled from that community. So we'll just kind of go through them real quick, and then I can kind of explain how this can be really useful. So it says, I remember boot camp more fondly than I remember high school. Today, the low speed, high drag kind of day. Am I the only one who hates thunderstorms? I'm homeless tomorrow and I need a room quick. Happy Valentine's Day, fuckers.
Those are actual.
Those are actual ones, yeah.
Is it this from the military group or just
The
in general?
military group,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
So-
Well, we know who the derogatory person is.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
The screen's a little bit hard to read, but, so here's another one. How do you explain to someone that you're interested in dating, that you have PTSD, and that you don't have to talk about it? They always push for answers since they think they can fix me.
Mm.
It's sad when all your friends are financially okay and you're the one who hasn't gotten any money. So finals day sounds stressful.
That's awesome.
Can't get the noises out of my head. I got out a year ago because I have 3 kids and I worried about their futures. I hate civilian life and I miss my brothers.
Yep.
I think there's one other one I grabbed in here. Roses are red, violets are blue, and I didn't get a chance to put in the replies, but they're pretty.
Pretty colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I should put those in there.
Oh, well, we don't care here. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so those are just a few example ones. There are other ones that I actually saw, and stuff like I'm thinking about killing myself.
Sure.
And like I even replied to that one. I'm like, and I just said, hey, if you need to talk, just talk to me. And I said that there's better things that you can do. There's better ways out of this. And other people replied too, and it's like that to me is when it really hit me, that this is a community where they feel safe, and that, I mean, the one that I saw today was this one. I'm homeless tomorrow, I need a room quick. 2 people
Yep.
responded saying, where do you live?
Yeah.
Which is a little bit, there's some things to question there, but still
Right.
the fact that
But the initial post is anonymous, and then they can make a decision about de-anonymizing themselves further if they
correct.
want to.
In fact, when you click on a post in here, and this is relatively modeled after Whisper because I thought they did it really well. But one thing they don't do is you can't see a person's profile. There's just no way for you to see anything about them. They have a randomized name, and then they have you just see their post or you don't see it.
And they put the photograph on there, or does it like automatically?
I'll show you in a moment
Oh, okay.
how they do that, and that's
Okay.
also why I think this is a particularly powerful way of doing things. And
Mhm.
just also to kind of show you why this communication is coming up. All of probably your messaging apps, you probably didn't realize it yet. They've all put in this kind of feature where you can attach a photo and then annotate over it.
I have it on my iPhone when I just.
iPhones have it.
update, Yeah.
Google Allo, Google
Yeah.
Messenger, Facebook,
Mhm.
they're all kind of doing it. Sort of
Mhm.
Snapchat, but other people have been finding out different ways to do it.
Mhm.
Mm.
And I think really what makes this powerful is that you don't just say something,
Mhm.
you give a visual to it,
Mhm.
and you can choose that visual, and you can express yourself even deeper, and it makes the activity of sharing more fun,
Mhm.
more interesting. So
Yeah.
anyway,
And more meaningful.
yeah, I'll show you quickly how that is handled in here, and I can kind of talk more about how this works. By the way, this is the main thing, and here's this button, which is to share. This is kind of based off the QRF logo, which to me looks a little bit like a chat bubble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you create here, and you can type something in here, and say, I'm having a rough time. And then you just select a color to describe how you're feeling, whether that's feeling neutral, down, confused, angry, or good, I'm feeling great. If you didn't select one of these, it would just default to neutral, and you just go, you just move on. So, but this part right here directly kind of helps with a couple things. If they choose to do this, and it's up to you guys if you want to enforce this or not, you can go down this route, but they have to think just a little deeper about what they're gonna say.
Mhm.
And all I have to do is just choose one of basically 5 emotions. And if it kind of meets it, and if there's just a color they want to go with, they can go with the color.
Mm.
And then that kind of can be attached to that post, both to give a little bit of sense of what is going to happen in this post. So this person's feeling confused or kind of surprised or unsure. This person's feeling down. This person's feeling pretty neutral. To me, this is going to, for some people, help to target what they want to click on. They see someone who's sad, they can go and help them. If they see someone who's angry, they can maybe go and relate, or they can avoid it, so they don't
Yeah.
get triggered.
Mhm.
And this particular part here has the opportunity to, and this is just a thought, family members, if they wanted to be involved at all, this would be a place where they could potentially see other veterans too and help them out as well. One of the things I found a lot was these actually a bunch of fresh apps that tried to actually connect family and veterans to other family and veterans.
Mhm.
And to me, I felt like that was kind of interesting. I wondered how well it was working, and the communities themselves seem like a lot of community advisors are really pushing things.
Mhm.
And it's not really as self-sustained as it could be.
Sure.
But just the potential for that is interesting, because I do see a lot, even on Whisper in that community, there's a lot of family members who are in there saying like, who want to go in there and just say how much I appreciate you, or they reply to some of these veterans to just say like, like, my husband went through the same thing, like, if you need to talk to either of us, just message us here.
Right.
And just a thought, but I thought that was interesting. I haven't put enough research into knowing how the family work, how that would work in this kind of atmosphere. I've been focusing mostly on just having this be a community of veterans.
Sure.
So, back to the creation, you have that, you attach an emotion, and then you can essentially attach an image to it. And what you ideally be able to do is be able to search something that you want to find. I'm
Mhm.
looking for an ego, I'm looking for,
Mhm.
someone who's down. What I've seen some of the different software out there, that what they do is they actually try to logically guess images that match what you put in
I
there.
was just gonna say, like, I think one of the apps that I use, it would just pick up on rough, and then it would show something rough.
Yes, exactly.
You know, whether it's like climbing up a mountain,
Yep.
or, yeah.
Yep.
So but this app doesn't do that?
Nope.
Does it? Okay.
Nope. And if you were to attach an emotion to it too, you can even better cater those results to them.
Mhm.
Unless they decide to search, and then they can just find what they want.
Mhm.
This amount of steps, by the way, is the same amount of steps for most apps. Most apps, you have to choose where you're sharing it to,
Mhm.
whereas this one, it's to everybody. It's all veterans.
It's
can
just
see it.
there.
So
It's default.
it won't be any more or less work for them to do it in any other place.
Mhm.
The emotions could be taken out, but I put them in there because it's another opportunity for them to start working on thinking about that expression and that emotion behind things.
Mhm.
Right.
Label.
Connecting with their emotion.
Yeah.
Labeling the emotion,
Yeah.
yeah.
And making it quick and not like, choose which, section of anger you feel. Are you
Yeah.
frustrated? Are you mad?
Yeah.
It's like.
That's a guaranteed
that's-
way to
that's
piss
a-
veterans off.
That's enough, it's
I
like.
I think there's a lot with the colors, there's something about colors that are associated with emotions. When you see
Yeah.
a certain color,
Mhm.
it definitely triggers something
Yep.
in your brain about it. So I think colors are, it's kind of a neutral thing along the way, is like, pictures, anything that would take you from really looking into how you feel. And when you see a color, it's just only focused on, I think it just hits only that part of the brain, because all you see is a color.
That's a
you
great
know?
point, yeah.
So I like the color idea.
Yeah, I'm
What
hoping
does
that's what
orange
it be.
stand for?
Which one? This one?
Orange?
Is this the orange for you?
Yellow.
Oh, no, the-
Yellow.
This one.
This one, yeah.
This one? It's
Orange.
shooting more red. This
Oh.
screen's very blue, so it's making
Oh,
it look
I
orange.
see.
If you look at my screen, it's actually just a
Red,
red.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of just anger.
Mhm.
Anger, frustration, pissed off, mad.
Mhm.
So these color choices are just from my knowledge of how color and color theory is.
Mhm.
I think blue is, you know, typically gonna be kind of more of a sad color, especially with blues. Purple's a weird color. I think it really works well for being confused and unsure. I think red is classically for anger, and I think yellow is,
This,
I mean, I don't find that to be it's not my favorite color. In fact, it's my least favorite color, so I don't like yellow. But still, I still associate it with, you know, the yellow smiley
Sunshine.
face. And
Yeah.
sunshine
the
and
blue
stuff.
kind of, I think of the sky kind of in like, you know,
Yeah.
that's
It's
the one,
kinda
so that's a little,
calming
yeah, it's
also.
almost to me, it's more of a calming thing. Almost like the blue would be, the red would be where the blue is and blue would be where the red is.
Black
Oh,
might-
yeah.
In my eyes, that's
Yeah.
just how I see, but,
Black
you
might
know.
be more around anger.
yeah.
Yeah, there
I
might
think
be.
there's a lot of options for
Yeah.
that.
I mean, that easily, you know,
Yeah.
interchangeable
Yeah.
though.
Yeah,
And
all this is interchangeable, just the ideas
yeah,
are here.
yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse, any thoughts on this stuff?
I like it as it is right now. Like the red, I think I associate with anger.
Mhm.
Maybe the yellow would be green instead for me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I think it
Yeah.
was fine for now.
Yeah.
I like the anonymous piece too. I think that'll generate more content or more responses, I think, as opposed to like being more, when someone knows who you are, you're not gonna release as much, I think.
Right.
Judgmental
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
So I do have one question about, I mean, I think this makes a lot of sense. I guess one question I have with this is, why reproduce what's already happening in Whisper?
Because Whisper could do better.
Okay. So I guess, so my worry about some of the stuff where we're integrating with social is,
Mhm.
or where we're trying to reproduce what happens on a social platform, is that users naturally navigate to those platforms.
Mhm.
And so I guess, I mean, not that, I mean, integrating with any of the social platforms is touchy, but,
Yep.
you know, I guess one thing I wonder is like, if they posted it here, could we use an API to also post it to Whisper, right? So that it's,
Possible.
right, so that it's, they're participating in
Mhm.
something that they would sort of naturally participate in anyway.
If you can do that, that is a good idea. If you can integrate in more places,
Mhm.
that's always gonna be really
Useful.
good. Yep.
Okay.
You'd have to talk to Whisper.
Well,
I mean,
clearly,
They
right.
are big on their anonymous, you know.
The anonymous piece,
so
yeah.
They might not have an API.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about, you know, sort
Yeah.
of, because the thing is that what's really fascinating to me is that we're sitting here trying to build things for the veterans, and the veterans don't give a shit about what we build. They want to just they're going to use the systems that they naturally use.
Yep.
Right? And so, I mean, this is a good exercise because I think if nothing else, we can use it to talk to systems of care about how they should approach these problems differently, right?
Yep.
But I also wonder at I mean, for me, I just wonder about the utility of trying to build something that they're going to naturally build on their own,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and I wondered about why it was Whisper a lot,
Mhm.
you know, and I spent a lot of time just kind of partaking in the community and just kind of feeling it out to see, you know, why this place. And I explored every single community I could find that was in a mobile sphere.
Mhm.
You know, there's many communities out there on forums and webs, but the mobile sphere, you know, they're either gonna go to their classic interests, whether that's, you know, things, you know, when they're younger, sports or video games or what have you, and they try to find, but if they're looking for like real connection with other veterans again, or a place where they can at least express some of those difficulties relating to their history of that, the options don't seem to be very good.
Okay.
And I was very surprised to find a very large community in Whisper. And I'm sure there's other communities out there, and I did find other communities in other places.
Yeah.
Back such as Vent and, what was the other one called? But those ones, they all had certain things that I think Whisper made it more desirable as a
To
as a
be
place
there,
to go.
yeah. I mean, I think there's at least a few closed Facebook page, groups that require DD 214
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
entry as well,
Yeah.
right? Is that right?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
There's one on Facebook that requires,
Okay.
you know.
How do you know that they're a veteran and stuff on here? Like, how is it?
that would
How is
be-
it like some person just can't go on and start kind of talking?
Well, for us, I mean, we're deploying this app through Dryhooch, right? So I mean, that's
Oh,
right. So
okay,
so
so
it's
yeah,
not
okay,
it's not
that makes sense.
it's not available to an external community
Okay.
to start
I
with.
thought it was just something anyone
Right.
would go on, okay.
Right.
No, that would,
Good.
that's actually why I think this, so going into my conversation with some of the veterans and the Whisper community,
Mhm.
they, for one thing, hated that anyone could join into that. That was a huge one.
Mhm.
It just irritated the hell out of them.
Mhm.
They also hated seeing some of the crappy, like, spam posts from either non-veterans or even sometimes from veterans who think that they can get away saying things that are, you know,
Just
totally inconsiderate to who you are as a person.
right.
And that just really upset them. And so I gave that thought, well, what could be a place where they can, for one thing, it's easy for us to say, this is just a community of veterans,
Mm.
just based on the environment. And then also to help them get to where they, you know, more focused on people they want to talk to. There's the aspect in Whisper for groups, and I think groups are great. However, sometimes groups can limit things too, especially if they limit what other people can see. So there might be valuable posts for you to relate to, but if you're not part of that group, you'll never see it.
Sure.
Something else that I've seen, not just Whisper, but a lot of other places do, is intelligently categorize things based on the information again, which goes to kind of this explore part where there's actually different sections you can go into, and all the things that are put in there will be kind of
Mm.
intelligently placed, whether it's featured, new and unheard, someone who's struggling, patriotism, disabled, career talk, funny. So if someone wants to go on this app and just get a laugh,
Yeah.
hopefully we can intelligently find something that someone's trying to be goofy.
Right.
So, and part of attaching emotions to it, I felt would help better intelligently say, okay,
Mhm.
this is more likely what this is actually saying.
Yep.
And if we can ask and figure out more about the veteran when they sign up, you know, for example, if they are disabled,
Mm.
that is something when they do post, that is something that we could immediately say, this is part of disabled. Not to say that they couldn't show up in other places too.
Right.
But at least there can be a place for disabled veterans to communicate and talk to. 'Cause I feel like that particular section of veterans, there's often not a good representation or place for them to always talk to other people, especially some who are like, you know, missing tons of limbs
Yeah.
or like severely impaired, and it's like other veterans who may still be able to function fairly completely normally,
Mhm.
they can't even relate even then on that
To-
level.
to that.
And that's really difficult for them. So that was something that I felt, again, there's so much more that can be done using a similar kind of platform that they
Mm.
had.
Mm.
Yeah, I think like
Um,
spinal cord
Yeah.
wheelchairs. That's
Yeah.
a completely different world than I'm used to. I'm sure what they like to enjoy and what they do
Yeah.
on a regular basis. That's a definitely
Yeah.
kind of puts them together and helps them kind of
Yeah.
talk about stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the VA spinal cord center up here would be a great place to, you know, have that conversation too. I mean, we
Mhm.
could get some people in to talk
Yeah.
about it, or
Yep.
we could go to them, really.
Yeah.
So.
And
yeah.
I think mobile's a good platform for them too
Mhm.
because of the accessibility features of mobile.
Yep, for sure.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
so moving on, this is the explore section. If you click on one of these, you know, you can kind of go in here and you can see it. This would be to reply. So you can reply to that, and you can see, this is a little bit broken right here, but you can see other people's replies right in here. And that's basically what you can see. In Whisper, you can continue to reply to things. This is all messed up, so you can try not to focus too much on the disjointedness of this, but I wasn't sure if a continuous stream of responses would be good, because that could lead to crappy communication between people, especially if there's disagreements being made. So I felt like it would just simply be, I post something, people are gonna react and support to it.
Mhm.
Which your two options are to respond directly, and then to what I felt was the only way I could do it easily right now was just do a kind of a +1 saying, I empathize with you. I got your shoulder, man, I totally understand. Or, hang in there.
Hmm.
Just simply that.
So is that an auto-generated thing, or is that just something that someone is agreeable and they write whatever they want.
So this would be something they write whatever they want.
Okay.
So there is actually
So it's
the
like a
ability to
thumbs
have.
up, thumbs down type
Yeah.
thing. with
This is,
one.
yep, this is essentially thumbs up, thumbs down. This is the ability to have a direct response to it.
Gotcha.
The advantage to this that directly approaches the thing with what they complain a lot on, not just Whisper, but what I talked about in Bend too, was the ability of, just simply the fact that people who get away with crap and just, you know, can say stuff. Well, I think everyone's heard of Reddit, and Reddit has this thing where you can downvote, and essentially it'll eventually hide the post or the comment itself, which I thought was neat, but it also can do kind of that groupthink of just like downvote the bastard, right? Because
Mhm.
it's just like, you know, everyone's downvoting, so I'm gonna do it too. But instead, just simply allow them to downvote it and have it never show up to them again. And intelligently, we can remove it from the community if enough of that's happening, because you can assume at that point that it's not appropriate.
Sure.
So all I have to do is click the minus, and that will. You can do either here or in it, and if you click on it,
Poof.
it's gone.
And something else comes up in its
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And then that's it, and it's simply just gone. And
Mhm.
poof gone's maybe like, you know, lowest setting of being nice, and if you want to, you know, most rude, it could be
Middle
like, you know,
finger, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, whatever you want to be,
Done.
so,
Yeah.
that's, and this is something I don't see anyone doing, but, this is not working here, but the ability for you to just simply remove something
Mhm.
and just have that be gone,
Mhm.
I think is actually kind of awesome.
No, that's cool. Rather than unfollowing someone, just say, I just don't want to look at this thing
Right.
from them today.
Or
Yeah.
saying like, this is hidden, you know, unhide
Right.
it, no, just,
Yeah.
you click it and
This
it's
is gone. Yeah. I mean, this is an icon level issue, but I guess I wonder for the +1 if we can get something that's more military centric with that idea.
Yeah. I did
but-
experiment with some icons, but it was hard
Yeah.
to find one that
It's
fit
gonna-
that
yeah.
idea of, I
Get it.
empathize with you.
I
you know.
agree, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's something for down the road.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, again, all the icons in here are,
Yep.
with the exception of very few of them.
Just kind of quick, whatever.
I wonder if like lending a hand or something like that, but it's so hard to do in such a small space.
Yeah, and the
Right.
icons, you gotta use minimum amount of detail to convey an idea.
Yeah,
High five.
yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. Whatever.
We
I'm
wanna
just-
Yeah,
high
think
five
of a
somebody
hand.
says like, you know, I hate my life.
Yeah, high five. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
This
I'm
is-
thinking like my 5-year-old or 7-year-old like kid. Like it's
Right.
everything is like that's how you communicate is through high fives with them. So
I mean, what you could do is if we do allow, you know, if you do have the emotion attached to it, you could change what the response is to that.
sure.
You know, so.
Yep. Can we go back to the not in the social space but in the main sort of the other screen?
Here.
It might have been more on the mission stuff. I just had a question about
Yeah.
something. Let's see. If we keep toggling around, we'll find it, I think. There was like a lock symbol somewhere.
That may have been the profile.
And so I guess I just didn't quite understand what that was
That-
trying to convey.
Was just,
Unlocking the.
no, actually, that was,
Permissions
that was just an icon I put in there.
Just to-
And
just-
it's been in there so long that I completely.
Forgot why.
I didn't even think about it,
Yeah.
so I can see why you're confused.
Yeah, no, I was just-
It has actually no meaning. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
no meaning at all.
Got it.
It could be anything, be.
Maybe that's
actually-
where the branch can go, submission branch or the.
Something. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if we clicked on someone else's, you know, it would, you know, there's this, right now I just have Eagles for everyone else, but it would be Eagle. Since that's currently their chosen icon.
Right.
brand for them.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyway, I can put it
I'm just gonna start saying that at work. Poof.
Poof.
Yeah.
Gone.
One other aspect of this that I did put in there to allow, I think, the ability for some level connection is the idea of you can choose to listen to people.
Mhm.
And that is, if there's someone that a name that you can recognize that you've seen a couple times, or maybe it's someone you know.
Mhm.
You know this better.
Mhm.
You guys are friends. You exchange your usernames, and it's like you went and found him, and you know he's Night Rage, and so you decide I'm gonna listen to you. And so now, aside from exploring and seeing everything out there, you can just look at what the people you're listening to, and you can see
What they're posting.
what they're posting, and if it's a friend or even a family member, like you can actually at least focus on them. And uniquely also, if people are listening to you, you can also see those people too.
Mhm.
So, that's just one
So
other
you
little
could reach
thing.
out to your listeners if you're having a hard time.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, so that's kind of, and I felt like, you know, that's pretty much it. You explore, you can see everything that's out there, you can find things that you relate to. You can focus on just the people you want to listen to, and you can also just, you know, see other people who are taking an interest in you and how they're doing, and, you know, you can reach out to them too.
Mhm.
So, that's it for the social piece, and that completely changed from, again, the whole team squad thing, which,
Mhm.
Yeah.
to me, I felt it was really overcomplicated, and I think this honestly, and especially after spending time with Whisper, the content that gets generated, you've got pictures, you've
Mhm.
got people talking, and the responses are just as interesting as the posts themselves. It's really well generated, like it's all auto generated, you know, by people.
Right.
And to
I
me,
like, yeah.
I felt like it was was a very powerful self-generating community to me.
Mhm.
And I personally think that's why a lot of veterans came to that, because it had the anonymous piece, and it had kind of like, as opposed to a forum or you know, Facebook, it's like I have to read this, or I have to sift through news, or I have to sift through all this other crap. It's just like, here's images that are interesting, here's posts that I am, you know, I can connect to.
Mhm.
It's a much more accessible news feed to go into and just kind of browse through, look, and see what catches your eye. And with the addition of an image and not just text.
Yeah.
You see an image, it's like, okay, like,
Mhm.
particularly like some of the ones, you know, like the guy who I saw today, where was that? He said that, you know, he needed a home. It was something very similar to this image. And it caught my eye. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And
Yep.
and he said that he was homeless.
Mhm.
Right.
So I don't know. This is kind of why
Yep.
I like that Whisper, and I really feel like
Absolutely.
it was good.
Other
I
thoughts?
like how it's transforming. We'll have to see what these guys think, but, you know, I felt like before it was so, military centric, and so,
Mhm.
I don't know, like, sometimes that can make people stay stuck. The whole
Mhm.
idea is that they're
Yep.
starting to move into civilian life, and so, I
Well,
don't know.
with,
Jesse, go ahead. Sorry.
Mine's kind of a different thought.
Yeah.
It's unrelated, but I was just thinking what you mentioned earlier about not really opening this up to a wider community. Like, we're signing up people. Like, what's the reason that you chose to kind of keep it just through Dry Hooch and not just like anyone download it that's a veteran?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason is that this is sort of a front door to tying it to peer support.
Okay.
And so the check-ins and stuff like that we have are there in the background, and they could end up working with a peer support specialist from Dry Hooch.
Does that mean I could see, like, we can make profiles where they're assigned mentors? Like, we could even make that anonymous, like, just have it, so-and-so is a Iraq OEF veteran. Like, just kind of give a quick bio, but still anonymous. And that would be like their mentor
Yeah.
that's assigned. And then,
Yep.
like, different generations too, we could add in there.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, this is part of the struggle too, is that we're, you know, when we designed the initial QRF app, it's really based on non-anonymous, you know, so identified actual relationships between peer mentors at Dry Hooch and veterans that you guys work with. And so that's really the system that we built from that perspective, it is a true socio-technical system that's built on an existing social infrastructure.
Okay.
A real-world social infrastructure where people know each other, right? And this is a little bit different feel, but, you know, I mean, I think the thing that, from my perspective, is at the end of this process, we should say, if we were to develop the best product that we could, what would it be? And if it's that, if this is released into the wild outside of Dry Hooch, that the best thing is to have some people that the community views as really solid mentors that are anonymous, right? Unless they choose to, you know, maybe there's a way to say, okay, we've been working, you know, we've been talking a lot, let's actually connect as real people. But the assumption set could be, walking in the door, like you're saying, is that then the peer mentors are also anonymous, you know, from the get-go.
Mhm.
And that could be very, very powerful, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of mentors, I just getting all this stuff rewritten took a long time, but I did have that kind of built out in here, and I don't have that implemented, so I can't show you at the very moment, but there was a section for the mentor particularly, for you to go and potentially just be able to chat with them right there.
Right.
You know, you could instantly talk to them, request help.
I mean, I'd like to see us being able to help someone that's not within like the Milwaukee area.
Area.
Like someone is looking for help, they see our app for whatever reason, and then they download it, and we're able to reach out to them through this platform.
As a veteran, that'd be kind of neat, because you could, if you're just browsing and looking, you know, exploring, you see someone who's really struggling, and you're a mentor, you might have the ability to, there might be like an actual chat button that you could do, and you could reach out and say, hey, I'm a mentor from, you know, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I see you're in struggles. Can I
That
help
could
you?
almost be two different apps, right? I mean,
Hmm?
you could incorporate this into the Dry Hooch
Mhm.
app, right? And then they could release it as something
Something
for
more
the
public.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely doable. I think another interesting thing would be to have the community, so let's say this is a fully anonymous community, right? Both the peer mentors and, or even not that there's peer mentors, right? That there's just veterans. And that as people are starting to talk more and more, if you've accomplished certain, if you've done certain missions, and if the community is valuing your input on other people's posts, that at some point in time, you're just given the rank of mentor, right? Like, it just, that's something that happens. Or the community could make a decision that this
Mhm.
person has done enough that we really view them as a mentor, even if we don't know them, but they've done a whole bunch of things in this group, and they're acting as a mentor, regardless of the title.
Mhm.
And so why not just give them the title too?
Mhm.
You could also make an argument that having the title is a barrier, right? I mean, so Dry Hooch sort of formalizes this relationship in a way. And in the way, part of the point is that people are just talking to each other, right? That they're walking through life together, and that they're providing some insight when it seems like it's valuable. But that the formalization just gets another barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to say, because like, you have the people that aren't really looking for that formal, like, mentor per se, but then there's the others that are actively searching for someone that's been there already, like, that can relate to the situation that they're going through, or,
Yep.
yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I like having a formal mentor, but I also kind of like the community taking charge of that too,
Mhm.
just by itself.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Thoughts, Ryan?
Not too many new thoughts. I like it overall. I think it's, you know, it'd be really helpful. You know,
Yep.
yeah, I really don't
Great.
have nothing bad about it for sure. That seems like something that could really help find insight and everything into
Yeah.
how someone's feeling, and kind of determine whether they're going down a bad path and they need some help or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm excited to see it, see what happens with it.
Yeah. I'd be really, really interested to see, like, you know, maybe a functioning prototype could even be put together at some point and have be in veterans' hands, just to kind of get a sense of how they
How
See
they
feel.
where it
about it.
takes it, or what
Yeah,
happens with
see
it.
how
Yeah.
it's reacted.
Right.
So I did meet with one veteran with this prototype, actually a week and a half ago, which is very very interesting experience. So, and
Mhm.
he seemed to like it, though he also didn't own a smartphone, so that was kind of,
Yeah, those are the
yeah.
issues that we're contending with, like who has
Right.
which type of
So-
phone and all those different things.
So, but he seemed pretty excited by it, but, you know, just, he was interesting. I actually met him through a friend. One of my coworkers said he's been trying to help a buddy of his who's, you know, finally came home after a long time. He said he's been like struggling, like he's been staying at his place because he doesn't have a place to stay, and he's like, says like, you know, but this guy's been like around the world. He's been in Cuba for the past like 3 years, and he started like a dojo to like train people, and like he seems like he's like a really like he's a go-getter, and he just does stuff. I just don't get why he keeps on like losing everything and then coming back. And the more he told me about it, and the more he was kind of explaining like what his patterns were and like what was going on, and you know, I was like, you know, was he in the military? And he's like, yeah, he was in the military for 5 years. And he's like, well, okay, so what happened as soon as he got out of the military? Well, he just started traveling and just started creating dojos every single place he went, and it always kind of like fell through. And so I started talking about his behavior and stuff like that, and sounded like what his name's Leo, and what he was going through was he was having a real difficult time adhering to little tiny things with communication and processes we do in like just the business world. He you know, as far as, you know, he's used to the boot camp style, just like, you know, you don't give up, like, and like you should show up at, like, I don't care if you thought you had a dinner date, you should still be here, you know.
Mhm.
And I talked to him for a while about it, and it sounded like, you know, he couldn't help himself when he was doing it. He just would get really upset, like really instantly, about, you know, people essentially failing him in his expectations. And I think a lot of that, from it sounded like with him, it led to he couldn't maintain customers coming to him, and even like business partners, like they'd always fall through. Even though he'd always come back and apologize, and it sounds like he and my friend Ahmed were doing the same thing. Except Ahmed's someone who kind of will always not give up, and one of the things Ahmed kept doing, and I told him to stop doing it, was he kept trying to like figure out, like, you know, like, did I do something wrong? Like, you know, like, why are you being mad at me? And like, just kind of, and he's someone who wants to solve that situation until it's done. And what he didn't get is that, no, like, Leo just needed to, like, just say you disappointed him and he's pissed off and be done, and you just be like, well, I'm sorry for that. That's how it is, you know?
Right.
And leave it at that, because he would just get more mad the more
Right.
he would try to push it. So I met with him and we talked and stuff like that, and so right
Yeah.
now I'm hoping to help set him up with something.
Right.
So, and can help get
Yeah, sounds like.
Sounds like you just need someone to
talk
count
to.
on and
Yeah.
work with, you know,
Yeah.
that would really help them.
Yeah, so we get them hooked up with Dry Hooch. So I'm just saying. So I think, you know, one of the things for me, so I mean, I heard the emotion and the disappointment, or almost a sense of betrayal in the
Yeah.
sort of social pieces. But I think one of the other things that you're saying is that there's a sort of fine point skills that the veteran may not possess.
Mhm.
And so when we talked about it with you and Robert, I think a lot of the sort of the daily tasks, right? So I mean, as a psychologist, I'm usually thinking more up here about, okay, skill set, and what they were saying is like even lower, even like more fine grained. Like, did you shower today? Did you get off the couch? You know, like really
Pay the
basic,
electric bill.
yeah, basics,
Everyday
right, of the
stuff.
everyday living that they may not have. And so, like, and it sounds like too in these social interactions that he's having, maybe like the one additional email to the business partner might, you know, sort of keep them on track,
Well,
or
right,
whatever.
yeah.
And he's not thinking like they committed to it, they said they were going to do it, and they didn't do it. Well, you know, for me to get Mark at something, like I have to send him like 4 emails and a text, right? And
Yeah.
so, and like I know he's going to fuck up right here, so I'm going to text him right now, right? And that's, you know, that's like business that's
Right.
business process, right?
Yeah.
That's everything, all the time, constantly, right? And so, but yeah, if you think you know, in the military, they said they're gonna do it, it's just gonna happen, whatever, and what the fuck, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It came to a head with him and Ahmed because he needed $100 to pay his rent. And he said that, actually I think it was a little more, it was like maybe $400. It was something that was a little bit outside of Ahmed's pocket.
Right.
But he could have done it, and he did do it, but he was a little bit irritated by it because, you know, what Leo was saying is he was saying, like, I just need, you know, the $400 so I can pay my rent, so I can live somewhere, and then I'll give you my food stamps. And Ahmed was feeling really uncomfortable doing that, but for him it's like, this is the solution. I don't get why this is a problem. Like, this will solve my problem. I have a place to stay. I've got way too much food as it is because these food stamps give me too much food, and then you can have food, and I can pay back the rest after that.
Mhm.
And so for him, it's like, I had the solution. Why are you arguing with me? Like, let's just do this.
Right.
And you know, and it's kind of like, it's the little, like, honestly, kind of silly things that if you really think about it, that
Mm.
we tend to hyper focus on, like, makes me feel uncomfortable, you know.
Huh.
And it's like, for him, it's like, so what? It's,
Right.
For him,
this
it's
is- this is-
survival.
That's survival.
This solves my situation. I'm going to
Yep.
help you, and I will follow up with you on this.
Right.
So.
And if you really care, why wouldn't you do this?
Right, and Ahmed did do it because he does care, but you know, they had a discussion too a little bit about that. It was
Mm.
kind of like
Mm.
it was interesting hearing about this and
Yeah.
talking to them about that because.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So this has been great.